welcome to my channel. We're gonna make buttercup squash soup, roast it in the oven with caramelized shallots in a separate pan. We're gonna add some fragrances like allspice, anise, cloves, and we're gonna blend it together and garnish it with pumpkin seeds, some crispy potatoes that I have left over from the other day. And yeah, this soup can be it can be very versatile. If somebody's vegan, you don't have to add the chicken stock, you don't have to add any cream. It's perfect the way it is. If you just use olive oil and vegetable stock on its own. Let's get into it right away. All right, so just to say a few things. This is my first time using this. It's called a buttercup squash. I have no idea. I believe it's very orange inside. We're gonna have to see that, and I hope that it is, because I like that orange squash look, especially once the soup is cooked. So you can use butternut squash, honey nut squash. You can use a pumpkin. It would not be a mistake. It's just a matter of whatever you have on hand or whatever you want to experiment with. Acorn squash is also a very delicate and amazing squash to use for this kind of soup. So we're going to get this roasting with some garlic, and that's going to take about half an hour. So okay, let's see what it's like. All right, looks pretty good. I'm gonna try and just take the skin off. I want to chop it up, or dice it up, and the reason for that is because once I put it in the oven, what's going to happen is that every individual small piece will get caramelized, and that kind of browning process will add way more flavor rather than just kind of like chopping in 4 or 5 pieces and putting the whole thing in the oven. It's just a matter of flavor too. Plus, it's a little bit easier to puree it after. It'll take less time to cook as well, and yeah. So we'll get that started. I'm gonna turn the video off, and then we're gonna come back to basically the second part of putting it and blending it together and finishing it off with garnish. All right, so there you go. Let's get this in a roasting tray. Make sure it doesn't crowd up, but I would say I don't really follow recipes to the exact. I would say this is probably about 1.5 pounds, maybe 2 pounds of squash, and the rough idea is just to use maybe about 1.5 cups of shallots to this ratio, and we're gonna add maybe about 15 whole allspice berries, a little bit of clove, anise seed. You don't want to over season on one and then just take away from the actual ingredient. You want to bring out the best of whatever you're serving, or whatever the name the dish that has. So okay, so let's just go back into the squash, finish that off. Since it's for kids, I'm not gonna overspice it because they won't eat it, but it's not a bad idea just to add a few chili flakes to it, and garlic. Very simple on this amount, maybe 4 or 5 cloves. And if you just do it like this and kind of remember where the garlic is, once it's finished roasting, you're going to get a really beautiful caramelized piece of garlic, and then you just actually squeeze it out of its casing or shell and incorporate it into the soup. Yeah, let me get some salt. This is just to kind of help out with the roasting process, but you can add salt later on as well. So you don't have to worry about, just make sure you go too much in the salt. Maybe that's about it. So I got the oven to 400 degrees and it'll take about half an hour or so. And if it doesn't caramelize that well at the end, I just turn on the broil to kind of speed it up a bit. So let's get that in and let's start cleaning up the shallots now. Just kind of slice these in half. This knife is way too big for this, so get a smaller knife, something like this. And let me clean this. I'll probably turn the camera off. I don't want to bore you with this kind of stuff, but let me just do one, turn the camera off, and then we'll get back into like caramelizing it, and you'll be able to see the whole process and what kind of color you want to finish these off with. So they're probably going to take you 5 minutes to clean them, start cooking, and they're going to finish at the exact same time as the roasted butter, as the roasted squash. And once that's done, you can toast these spices, because you want to add a little bit of, well, that just turned on its own. Back to that later. This is what you want to do. That's about it. Just a rough kind of, actually not as rough, you want it to be thin because you want each slice to kind of almost caramelize and melt away to bring out its like natural sugars out. And that's about it. So we'll get this on. This is what's happening. They're sort of slowly cooking. I'm gonna add the rest of them and just make sure that they get some beautiful color on them. There's a little bit of skin, that's nothing wrong with that. No, just kind of let them cook slow. You want them to, if they start burning, then they won't actually bring out, you won't bring out the best out of them. So just we'll come back to that later. Turn the heat up a little bit. So we're back at it. It's been approximately 25 minutes. The onions are pretty much done, so I've turned them off. I want to let them cool down before I put them in the Vitamix so they can puree. I just don't want the extremely hot foods touching the plastic. Just, you know what I mean? Okay, so there we go. That's done. Let's see what they're looking like. We might have to do the broil. Oh no, they're looking beautiful. So this is kind of what you want to see after your 35 minutes. You want to get some color on the ends of these. Once you touch them, you want them to be soft, like and like just kind of, you shouldn't touch them with your finger. Don't follow my lead on this. Take something like a spoon and just kind of try and do that. Now if I leave them in there, the oven's turned off, I wouldn't really, there's nothing bad that might happen. I'm gonna turn the timer off, and so let's get this on again, really high. So we'll go like this. We'll use about 15. I'm not even gonna count them. I'm just gonna take them. It's approximately 15 right there. If somebody wants to count and call me out on it, I'd welcome it. So about 10 of these, not 10, 8, 9. All right. Let's take it down. See, I already feel maybe one whole anise seed or half. It's very, very fragrant, and I am going to take some nutmeg And I'm gonna take some cinnamon. Wow, this is happening really fast. They're like burning. So I'm gonna turn this off because I don't want to burn it yet, but I can already smell it. It's just, oh, lost one. And let that kind of all right, so let's get some cinnamon as well. Cinnamon, cinnamon, cinnamon. There we go. Now the cinnamon and the nutmeg I have to grate. So I'm gonna grate it directly into here. Just not overdo it. Cinnamon, no need for grating, just a pinch. Nothing more, nothing less. Cinnamon's very fragrant, so you don't want to overdo it. Now, that has been toasted. We're gonna add some water to it. Now, here is where things get a little bit optional. So, if you wanted to add vegetable stock, chicken broth, those would be my two recommendations. However, okay, so we'll go with it's hard to say the right amount because you just have to kind of develop a feel for it. But I go with 4 or 5 full tall glasses of water. Let that bring it up to boil, and let the aromatics just sort of steep right into the water or the stock, whatever you have at hand. In this case, I will add some chicken. I don't have any chicken stock at all. Usually we have some lying around the fridge, freezer. I try to do a lot of bone broth, especially in the winter, because it's really healthy for you, but we ran out. So we'll just do some of this sort of like paste. I got this at Costco. Does the job really well. It's probably better than your other cubes. Just add like a nice full tablespoon or maybe a teaspoon and a half. Bring it up to boil. Ideally, you can also add other aromatics. You can finish this because we're going to strain it. Obviously, you can finish it off. You can add some thyme, rosemary as well. I will just keep it to this right now at the moment. So, it up. So it's steeped for about 10 minutes. Very fragrant smell to the whole to my whole kitchen and living room. So let's take out the roasted squash. Take out this garlic. Again, don't use your hands. Pick it out with a spoon and sort of just take the squash, add it to your Vitamix. Should have let that cool, but it is what it is. You can't always make it perfect. It's kind of the premise of this cooking show, to never make it perfect. The moment I make it perfect, well, I don't know. I'll cancel myself. Let's go. Okay, so there we go. It's such a beautiful, beautiful smell there. It's just so, I don't know, I can't even explain it. Something about squash. I was never a big fanatic when it came to squashes, but ever since I watched this Netflix, I think it's called Chef's Table, episode 3 on Francis Malman, the way they do roast squash in Patagonia, it just became it looked so good, and I enjoy it so much. So that's done. Let's do this now. And That would be a horrible mistake. Let's do it like this. In case I make a mess, it's not gonna go over. Now, with the stock itself, don't pour all of it in because it might be too runny if you do so. So I just tend to leave it like this, and if I need more stock, I can always add more. Okay, so with this, I have a cap somewhere, just I'm not gonna get it right now. Start at a variable. If you start off at a high, it's just gonna splatter and go everywhere and potentially burn you because it's just gonna, you know, jump out. So variable at 1, turn it on and let it slowly cook. Now everything inside there is already roasted and cooked, so you don't have to worry about cooking it like separately in a pan because it's just been roasting there for a long time. So the garlic can go in. Get a knife for this. So that off. Get that in. And while that's pureeing, yeah, so it's a little bit too thick, so I'm just gonna add the rest of this stock to it. Oh god. Now I'm gonna start the pan again to do the garnish. I'm just gonna do a little bit of it. All right. Back to variable. Cover. Speed it up a little bit. Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. Now, let's see what this looks like. Oh, let me taste it before. Yeah, it's the right consistency. You don't want it overly runny. You also don't want it to be like a puree. Just kind of like a nice like consistency, just like that. And I just want to try a little bit. It's perfect. You know what? Maybe just a little bit of salt. Variable to 1. Just a slow start. A little bit of salt. And that would be about it. Maybe oh god. So typical. I don't think I ever made the soup without making a disaster, but it's part of the process. Okay, so that is a beautiful looking soup. Some arugula, potato skins, pumpkin seeds. There we go. turn that off. The pan is burning. Please forgive me, I'm very new to this thing, so the filming takes a bit of a toll. So there's some sour cream there. Add a chili flake or two. Finish it off with olive oil. If you have actually pumpkin seed oil is great for this. And that's about it. This is where we're at. It's a beautiful presentation, beautiful, tasty soup, very fall, winter comfort. Make it with a beautiful sandwich. Start off the dinner with a little bit of this, and that's what we're going to be doing this evening. I'll just have this right now. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, the sour cream really adds another like creaminess to it. Beautiful. All right. Well, I'll try and post the recipe below, and I hope somebody out there makes this and gives me their take. Have a good one. Bye. It's coming to boil. I'll turn the camera off, and then we'll come back for the last part, putting it together.